Next up is item 27, and it's proposal resolution. And I'll turn this over to Jerry Means.
Mr. Chairman, at a previous meeting, I proposed the resolution for Campbell County not to accept nuclear waste. And we're presently in a very rough draft, but it's, my feelings is it's something that we as commissioners need to let the public know how our stance is. And that it is very important that our community give us feedback as to how they feel, because we're only representatives of the community, and we're here to represent the voters, the constituents, our county, and my goal is to just do what you ask us to do. So I presented a resolution not to accept nuclear waste in Campbell County. And that's basically what it is.
Anybody have comments or discussion?
I have comments, Mr. Chairman. So what's been going on in this issue is a lot of moving parts going on in the state. 4 years ago, we didn't have an opportunity for a nuclear reactor to come to Kemmer. There was not much discussion for any kind of waste because we didn't have that plant coming. We have different industries coming into our state that want to manufacture basic components, small modular reactors, fuels. The DOE would like to do intimate storage, consolidated storage in the Rocky Mountain West somewhere. With all these moving parts going on, you begin to see communities go into conversation about this, and some have become quite fragmented, and they're arguing and fight among neighbors. Positions have been not made, some positions have been assumed. It creates a lot of controversy, and I think that as a community, maybe we should have this discussion before it comes to town and creates the same situations the rest of the state's seeing. And I think that there's some opportunities, and there's also some liabilities that come with this particular issue. And it's now getting big enough that we should begin to deal with it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. And I might add that we're not deciding anything today. This proposal is for you to know of what intentions that Jerry Means has, and so us as a board, we're going to throw that out there. We're not going to tell you who's in favor or not in favor of this at this time. This will not be decided on for at least a month. So what we're going to do by doing this is to give people time to contact us, let us know their thoughts and concerns. Hopefully through some of these town hall meetings, things will become more clear as things go on, and then we know a more definite response is what the community actually wants in the majority of them. So that's the reason for this, to my understanding. And so it's just another level of trying to be transparent ahead of time of what's coming at us. So any other?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and a question for our Director Beeman. In an effort to be transparent on this and to solicit public input, how would the public see the draft language of this resolution?
It's in the agenda packet online, correct?
Right. Yeah, so on our website, the county website, the commissioner's page, in our agenda packet for today's meeting, that'll be there for your review.
And Chairman and Commissioners, we will also add it on the homepage of the website to make it easier.
Okay. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, one last comment. The state has a law that does not accept nuclear waste. We did make an exception for the power plant in Kemmer, and it's basically to let the state and our representatives know that exceptions do not include Campbell County, and that my feelings is we need to make a statement that we do not accept nuclear waste in Campbell County.
Mr. Chairman, just one more comment, and if I could, again, just to facilitate an ongoing discussion. We do have here in Gillette on the evening of the 18th, I believe it's 5:30 p.m. At Gillette College Technical Center. There is 6 o'clock. Doors open at 5:30, meeting starts at 6. On the 18th at Gillette College Tech Center, another town hall meeting that has been arranged largely by the city, with some help from the folks at the Nuclear Energy Institute, and there are a handful of guests scheduled to participate there from Wyoming DEQ, from the University of Wyoming, and the mayor of Idaho Falls, Idaho, a community that has a long nuclear heritage and kind of a real person perspective that could come. I think maybe she's participating virtually, but will be there to tell us about what being a nuclear community has been and is for them. Relative to this proposed resolution, I'm in favor of putting this out there as long as we are cognizant of good, clear definitions about what it is that we are saying or resolving in this case. Anybody that's talked to me about this knows that I think it's very important that we as a community think and speak very precisely about what is the nuclear industry. To say nuclear as one thing, I think doesn't do the subject justice. It's a very broad spectrum of industrial activities, from mining, from fuel milling, fuel products milling, to conversion and enrichment and fuel manufacturing and other opportunities for manufacturing efforts in this industry. And there's also power generation, and there are just a very small number of activities across this broad nuclear sector that actually do generate waste. And I just want to make sure that we have a precise conversation and good understandings about what a resolution like this would mean. So looking forward to continuing that, and turn that back over to the chairman.
Mr. Chairman, one last comment. I did have the opportunity to visit INL in Idaho, and the one comment that always got my attention in the 3 days of discussion was Idaho has to get rid of their nuclear waste by 2035, and they need some place for it to go. And they kept using the comment, Wyoming and Idaho will be partners. So that's what brought this to my attention. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, I do have some comments. I guess I don't know the process because this is a little bit new. As far as how there needs to be some changes to the language and whatnot here, and I know that Commissioner Means already has some ideas as far as some of those changes, but I don't know exactly the process to do that. If we would have to hash that out in a public setting like this through amendments or what. So I guess I'm looking for some direction from you on how to facilitate this.
Are you looking at me?
No, I'm the chairman. Sorry, looking right past you there, Jerry.
Yeah. I would say just keep on course to what we're doing now. And then that is that we've told you about it. Things are going to progress. We will check the legalities and all the stuff that we need to as time goes on. We're not voting on this or deciding nothing on this for a month, so we've got time to realize what we can, can't, should, or shouldn't do.
Yeah, yeah, Mr. Chairman, to be more specific, how in what ways can the language be modified? I guess what is your preference of going about that?
I would say that we have county attorneys, we have other people that can check the wording on this as to what exactly should be in there, and to what concerns Jerry Means has, and have some of the public also tell us in the meantime of what they're concerned about, because that's the reason we're doing this mostly is for the people in the community. And so the wording is if we need to decide if it's absolute no nuclear waste, or if there are conditions, or if there's a level of different nuclear waste that could be acceptable or not acceptable. This will be all figured out as time goes on, and so if you're asking me to have the exact wording right now, I don't have the answer to that.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm not asking you to have the exact wording. I'm thinking as far as the process and how do we amend the language? And we can talk about that more. I just don't know if that's something that we hash out through process of amendments and votes, and, or if that's something that I don't know. So, you can think on that. It doesn't have to be done now. And the reason I bring this up, so, for the folks who've read it, the resolved, portion, and that's really the operative. The whereases are just all the justifications for doing something, and the resolved portion really is the operative language. And so it says, now therefore be it resolved that Campbell County Board of Commissioners recognizes the importance of public input. The board will place this issue on the ballot for the general election in 2026. This will allow the public to vote on whether nuclear waste storage should be permitted in Campbell County. And so I know, this is the first time that we have talked about this as a board. So you all we're at the very beginning of this. There's been no prior decisions have been made or anything like that. We're all kind of learning as we go. One of the issues that I question is number one, we don't have the ability to authorize nuclear waste being sited in the county anyway. As it was mentioned a moment ago, it's illegal according to state law. As Commissioner Means mentioned, there is only one exception, and that is for kind of the traditional power plant approach. And that's not just isolated to Kemmerer. If Black Hills Power wanted to site a nuclear power plant under state law, it would be authorized. We wouldn't have a say as a board in that matter. And they would be required per the NRC and per the state statute to have that waste be held on the site. And so there's a lot of different issues out there. There's issues of the waste that's created in Wyoming, like what's going on at the Kemmerer plant and at the Natrium plant. But there's also the issue of legacy waste and the waste that is generated outside of Wyoming and being brought in, and that's specifically what the state statute says is illegal. You cannot, the state of Wyoming, including Campbell County, could not authorize any kind of temporary storage or permanent storage, nor have we been asked to. There's been the federal government is the one who's in charge of that. The federal government has not asked us to take any nuclear waste. That's not to say they might in the future. President Trump signed an executive order within, I think, 240 days to come up with a plan for the nation. And that's going to come out sometime probably in January or before that. So none of us know what that plan looks like. So we haven't been asked to. There's been no private companies who have come forward saying we want to put nuclear waste in Campbell County. I think that should be mentioned as well. I do agree if the state law ever changes and we are ever asked, I think I agree with the sentiment that this is something that should be put on the ballot for the people to decide. But there's questions that come to mind, and under what we as a board, where Commissioner Means mentioned it another time, we're not kings. We can't just do whatever we want. Our actions are bound by the state constitution and state law, and so I don't know if there's any state statute anywhere that authorizes us to put such a question on the ballot to begin with. I would imagine if state law were to be amended or changed to even allow for nuclear waste to be sited in Wyoming, either temporarily or a permanent repository, that could be something through the legislative process that we would advocate for, that any decision must be put to the people via a public ballot, which I would certainly be in favor for. But this is contemplating that we're going to put something on the ballot in 2026 when we haven't been asked by anybody to cite it here. And I guess the question is what if it passes? what if people say, yeah, we wanna be able to put nuclear waste in Campbell County? Are we then obligated to ask? Because we haven't asked. I mean, this is the first time we're discussing this. So are then we obligated as a board to approach the federal government and say, hey, our voters said that we wanted to put waste in Campbell County, and we want to have this discussion now. So those are some of the questions that I'm grappling with. Again, I appreciate the sentiment of actually having the voters vote on this. I think putting it on the ballot is premature. I'm not asking for any waste to be cited in Campbell County. I don't think anybody in this board is asking for waste to be put in Campbell County, and so I don't know why we would put it on the ballot to ask the voters to approve it or not, because we're not asking for it. And plus it would be a violation of state law. So that's why I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, I think there needs to be some work on some of the language. I think if we wanted to put out some kind of a statement that we appreciate and uphold what state law says, which is no temporary or permanent waste shall be cited in the state and in Campbell County in particular. I think that's fine, and we could do that. I think that it's more of a policy thing that sends to our legislators that says, hey, keep state law as it is versus changing it. But I also think we need to have more discussion as a community. Again, we're at the very beginning of this. There's been a couple of meetings by Representative Bear and Councilman Jack Clary back there has been a part of those as well. There's going to be another one this Thursday. And so for our community, we are at the very, 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 very beginning of these discussions because of the interest that private companies are having in possibly coming to Campbell County, which again isn't something that we asked for. We didn't go out and solicit that. They did. In fact, a company doesn't even have the obligation to come and talk to the county. They have done so at their own free will, at their own courtesy to notify that, hey, we're thinking about your community and seeing what you have to offer. So I just want to put that out there. We're at the very, very beginning stages of this. No decisions have been made. There's been no commitments on the part of any company, and we're all going along with this together. We're all learning as we go. So I don't know much about the federal process, how that would work. I don't know the advantages or disadvantages of having waste here. I'd like to have that information. Until I have a good, firm footing, I'm a no on having it cited in Campbell County. But a big reason for that right now is I just don't have the information. I don't think anybody does. So I like what state law says right now. It's illegal, and let's keep it that way until there's information that maybe says, hey, we should consider something else. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if I could elaborate just on a couple of points. And for me, these aren't position statements. Until I think we as a community learn more, I do think that there could be a risk of acting prematurely in this case. Commissioner Clem mentioned it may be included in the executive order relative to some of the nuclear activities, but there is a plan. There was a requirement issued to the U.S. Department of Energy and the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission to come up with a plan within 240 days for a permanent solution for nuclear waste. I think even most of the members of our state delegation from this region have acknowledged the fact that without knowing what that plan is, it may be too soon to take any action or make any formal statements. I think that understanding what that plan is, and make no mistake, it is the obligation of the federal government with the NRC and the DOE to deal with spent fuel as waste products. They have to do that. That's the law. And without knowing what that is, I do think that we'd be missing a very important part of the conversation in considering a resolution like this. So I think that patience is a virtue in this case. I don't think we need to be rushed to do this because there are no proposals to store waste in this community. Relative to the resolution, and again, this is out of my ignorance. I'll be looking for guidance from our county attorney's office, from our staff, from the clerk's office, from the elections office, about whether it's appropriate or possible even for us to put a question like this on the ballot. And I'm not saying that it's not, I just don't know. If it is little more than an opinion poll and us stating our opinions via resolution, that's okay. We do things all the time via resolution that are allowed under state statute, like recognizing Suicide Awareness Month, like we did last month or last meeting. Those are statements of things where we take positions and express our opinions and place importance on certain topics. This could be one of those. We also do things through, that are required by state statute that are very strict. We use resolutions to pass our county budgets, so to speak. So I just want to make sure we understand as a board and as a community what the purpose, impact, effect of a resolution would be. And again, to look from guidance from a legal perspective, from a procedural perspective, that we don't set unreasonable expectations amongst the public about the ballot issue. So.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the comments. So this just didn't roll into town last week. There's a national energy policy that's been put together, and what came out was called a consent-based siting. Thank you. It's a policy. So quick history, I'll give about 2 minutes here and get out of this thing. When Yucca Mountain was turned down in 2009, the federal government got together, decided we have to put together a plan to begin to recruit new locations and people to get involved. They changed the way they did it. And consent-based siting was to go out and get the communities involved, and over a period of the last 10, 12 years, they put together an entire plan how to get this thing done. It's a communication plan, it's a sales plan. It's a national policy, and they're very good at it. Matter of fact, one of the gentlemen that talked the other night actually built this entire program. It's built on how do we get this thing done inside of a state. So they start at the upper levels of our state and begin to fund small business entities, communication, education, and recruit people in meetings. They move down through the networks until they finally go to a place where it would be someplace like Campbell County where leadership's involved, our leadership and city council. This is about getting people to have consent. And it's very well done. Their job is to, when next time they locate a location, the public will not be against it. I understand their position, what they're doing. I would not think of anything different if I had to do it myself. But the reality is they have a national issue, it's a national crisis, and it's called nuclear waste. It's in multiple sites, and they want to get it off their sites and get it someplace quick. And that quick means next 20, 30 years, because it's going to take time to move this stuff. They have an entire repository plan, an interim storage plan, a consolidated storage, and a transportation system already ready to go. Now they're looking for a spot, and they need cheerleaders to take it on. That's what this is about. Now, I myself, I see the good and the bad in the industry, but I understand very clearly what this is. It's a national policy, an energy policy, and it's right smack in the middle of Wyoming. And, excuse me, for us to move forward, we have to have our leadership say yes. Will the common person have a say? Sure, they get to come to meetings. Next week, this meeting coming up, you'll be allowed to write your questions and hand it to them. Okay? That's not community input. What I see in the future is I'd like to see this board actually stand up and just bring a few pictures, have you and the community come and say, okay, what about this? We pull a picture and we explain as best we can. The experts they'll bring in, yes, they're experts, but also they're selling their product. Their products in the nuclear industry, the good and the bad, okay? So we have to be wary, we have to be on top of this thing, because I would like to cherry pick, if we take this industry on, we cherry pick exactly what we want in our state. Because there is some good things in this industry, but there's an awful lot of liability comes with it. And what I've seen in the state so far is people willing to take that liability because they really don't care as long as they get what they want. That liability is some serious stuff. It's not so bad. Leave it where it is. And they won't. Okay, and they claim it's dollars. We're talking about maybe $45 billion in liabilities. Our budget's 4.2 trillion, so 45 billion is nothing. They want this stuff out of the way and they want it gone. And it's a whole collection of different stuff, so, Mr. Chairman?
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I probably better, this resolution is basically just a statement. It's not a law. It will not go into effect as a law. It's basically to get the community to start voicing their opinion as to when all these experts get here, that this is your community and you do have a voice. And you need to use that voice to let the industry or the commissioners know what is in your hearts and what you desire for your community. That's basically all this resolution is. It was a last minute, it's probably a mistake to put in there the public has the right to vote, but you do understand that we have to go through several litigation processes to even present an opportunity for the public to vote. This was basically just to let the community know that this is your community and to voice your opinion as to what you want in the community, and not for people to come in here and start telling you how important this is to your life. This is your community. You make the decisions. And as representatives, it's our job to fulfill your wishes. That's basically all this resolution was for, before we make it any more than what it was. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, those are good comments, and I concur. I think it's good that we're having the discussion and getting this going publicly, and the public absolutely should be able to decide. And if and when the law is ever changed to even allow waste to be in Wyoming, then absolutely, I think the public should vote on such a matter. I don't think it should be left to the five of us or any political body for that matter. It should be the people. The one last thing I just want to put out there, and I've read comments and I've met with folks and heard some things. You know, I think part of our issue on the board, as well as, you know, we're trying to feel out what kind of authority we have on this board to make, you know, what kind of decision-making power do we have? Again, we are not kings. We cannot do just whatever we want. We can't make decisions because we jolly well feel like it. We are restricted, and even with respect to the nuclear waste issue, it's not as though we even have the authority to vote on such an issue as a board, because statute doesn't give us that authority at all. It's currently illegal. We have no ability to even vote to approve something like that in the county currently at this moment. And it's the same thing with businesses and whatnot as well, and I think that's worth mentioning. I've always said it'd be cool if we had a Costco that comes to town. But a Costco doesn't have to come before this commission if they want to build out in the county somewhere. We don't have the authority, nor should government have that authority, to decide which businesses can operate and which ones can't. I mean, they do that in the People's Republic of China, and we are not China, and we don't want to go down that road, at least in my opinion. And so I think it's important for people to realize that even with these discussions of BWXT, because that's been in the news, and they haven't made any decisions yet, you know, part of the issue is what kind of decision-making authority do we have? It's not as though we get to put a stamp of approval and say, yeah, we want, you know, you guys can operate and do business here. Statute gives us, the Constitution gives us no such authority to make those kind of decisions on who to allow in the community and who not to. Now, they have to abide by laws and by zoning and regulations and all, and there is some control that we have, and obviously the regulations to protect the environment and people and health, and everybody has to abide by that, but you know, we don't have that kind of power, I think, that some people in our community think that we do.
okay, I think we've heard enough on this subject. I'm ready for something happier. And it's the next one, no, the last one before public comment. And this has to do with commissioners attending meetings. And so I'm the one that put this on the agenda because I wanted to explain myself for the other commissioners, for the public, and for the paper of what happened and what I did last Tuesday when I went to a city council meeting and told everybody that there was some commissioners going to meetings that we knew nothing about. And so the discussion I want today is, do we need to have a policy that commissioners need to tell either the chairman or our executive director that they're attending a meeting or something? I did cover this roughly a couple of months ago when the WWC was meeting in Lander and one of the commissioners went to a different meeting. And before anybody got here, I asked him, I said, so what's going on? Do we need something? We didn't know anybody, that this person was going to do it. There's been several, as near as I can tell, and I'm guessing because I'm not invited to the party, but there's been a few meetings that they have attended that they haven't told us about. And I think if we're gonna be transparent and you have nothing to hide, it does not hurt any commissioner, and it's all of us. It isn't just two, because I'm guilty also, because I haven't been thinking it's that important if two other commissioners are at somebody else's meeting and I'm there also. I mean, but the paper thinks it's important. And so now we're going to make it important. And so just this idea that we should tell our executive director of where we're going. And I did. I told her I was going to a city council meeting, and I had no clue that other commissioners would be there. And neither did Sandra. Nobody told her. And so we're going to have to sharpen up on this. And if I go to a meeting someplace and I see two other commissioners, I better just turn around and stay out. If it's something important, I'll text them and ask them if I could trade them places or something. But we can't just be going and having three commissioners show up and then act like it's all, because the public thinks this was all pre-planned and everything, and it wasn't. It was, I was going rogue. I was doing it on my own because I wanted some stuff to come to light. I did it intentionally to bring this discussion to find out what should we do about this? Are we, as commissioners, in agreement that we can let somebody know if we're going to a meeting, whether it's on a phone or whether it's in person or whether we've been invited or whatever? I think we can. It doesn't hurt my feelings to tell Sandra if I'm going to breakfast with another commissioner, because I always do. And no matter who, if it has anything to do with county or public business, I tell Sandra who I'm meeting with and when I do it beforehand. And for one thing, it kind of gives us, commissioners want everybody to account for every penny that they've got in their departments and everything. How come we can't account for our time and our meetings that we have? Because it is important. Who are you meeting with? Is it a nuclear company, or is it just a different company that wants to come to Gillette and start up a business? I don't care. I'm not telling you that you can't go to meetings. I'm just saying we should be open enough that we can let somebody know ahead of time we're meeting with somebody. And I will open this up and people can ask questions or tell me what they want.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question. So our calendars, they're subject to open records requests, and I have no idea how accessible our calendars are to staff. Our executive director, I guess, what does that look like? I mean, I put everything that I go to, virtually everything. Now I had a meeting yesterday with a constituent, but that wasn't on my calendar. But pretty near everything else is on my calendar. And if someone wanted to do an open records request, they could request all of the meeting. I mean, it's all right there. I don't know if that is something that our staff have access to. Is that something that they can have access to?
With your permission.
Okay. How would that work exactly?
There's just some settings in your calendar that you would have to allow us and share your calendar with them.
Sure. And I guess I took for granted that I mean, I just kind of assumed that was kind of already a thing. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we all attend a variety of different meetings. on many things. I know we've got some commissioners right here on this dais who've been to several John Patriot meetings. No one informed me about that. I find out about those things after the fact, and there's city councilmen there as well, and there's state representatives and state senators there, and which is fine. I don't have an issue with that. With respect to the thing that I think you're upset about, we all try to keep ourselves informed, and I think, Mr. Chairman, one of the things, maybe as a matter of constructive feedback, is when we have our directors' meetings and whatnot, maybe you'd either ask at that time or just in person, because you haven't talked to me about any of this. Just ask, hey, what have you been up to? What's important? What do I need to know? If you're wanting that information, I'm happy to give it. And I think that is the prerogative of the chairman to be able to ask those kind of questions. But I think that takes a little bit of effort on your part as well. But we try to keep each other informed. The reason, one of the things that I think set this off is this community meeting coming up on September 18th, which is this educational forum on nuclear, right? And Commissioner Ford and I were invited to participate in the planning of that. And after that very first meeting, we came in an open session just like this and said to this entire board, hey, here's what's going on. We weren't keeping it a secret. We informed the board. In fact, the board wouldn't have known anything about it had not we opened our mouths. And so I kind of take a little bit of issue saying that we're being secretive or holding secret meetings when we actually have put forth the effort to make it known and to be very transparent. And then, Mr. Chairman, to have you go in a public setting without talking to me first and then throwing my name under the bus, as well as Commissioner Ford, to me, that's unacceptable. I would have appreciated it if you have a problem with me in particular, take it to the person who can fix it, which is me. And we expect that in our county enterprise. We don't want gossip. We don't want people with problems airing it out in every which way. And I think just a matter is professionalism in our county enterprise. We have to have that standard. Our department heads know this. If there's issues, take it to the person who can fix it. Don't air it out in front of everybody else. And I think that has to start at the top as well.
Okay, and I get that, but I had tried to have these discussions earlier than that, and nobody thought that there was any problem with people going to meetings. We didn't need a new policy. That means you just keep doing what you're doing, and so I copied you. I thought, well, I'll do what you do. I'll go to City Hall, and I'll tell them what I think, because you guys did it. Only difference is you heard every word I said. I've never heard anything that you said in your meetings. And so that's what drove me to do this. I've surely figured the next day in our meeting, somebody would be here to call me out on stuff, and nobody said a word. Not the mayor, not you guys, not anybody. And so I thought, well, I don't think it's my place to bring up the subject. I've already did what I wanted to do, and that is to bring to everybody's attention that I think we have a problem about meetings.
Mr. Chairman,
I just want to see, I don't know why you think it's a problem to tell Sandra before you go to one of these meetings that you're going to the meeting instead of after the fact, and then you tell us what you got out of the meeting or what it was. What if I wanted to go to the same meeting so I could hear exactly what was said?
Sure. And
I don't know about it until afterwards.
Well, Mr. Chairman, and I haven't set up any meeting, any meetings that I've gone to, I've been invited, and I don't always know who's invited. And I think that's part of the issue. I think having our calendar accessible to our staff, I think, is one of those things that can alleviate the issue. And, if our staff wants to kind of monitor and here's what the commissioners are up to, I have no problem, and that's how I do it right now. Everything's on my calendar. Even sometimes meetings with constituents are on the calendar.
And I don't know how to get to your calendar.
Well, Mr. Chairman, that's fine, but I'm saying our staff do. And if that's the issue, if the issue is just, hey, someone needs to know, then I think that's one way that we can go about
Some of
doing
these
that.
things happen so fast that you can't put it on your calendar. I mean, if you're invited in the afternoon to go eat supper with BWXT at 5 o'clock, I mean, you're going to go, that's fine, I have no problem with that. But it doesn't hurt one little ounce to just text Sandra or somebody and say you're gonna do a supper time meeting with BWXT. That way, if she knows somebody else is going to wherever they're doing this, Prime River, whatever, she can say, hey, 2 people are already there, you're the 3rd one, better not do it because we don't have a public meeting notice on anything.
Sure, and I think we try to communicate with some of those things as well. I mean, and it's just kind of unspoken. I don't show up to John Patriot meetings because I know 2 commissioners are gonna be there. So I don't show up, because I know if I show up, there's gonna be a quorum that we didn't call. And so there's a lot of things that I just don't show up to. I don't show up to city council meetings. And it's not because I'm not interested, it's because I know that there's gonna be 2 commissioners there. And I just can't show up because there's gonna be a quorum. So I mean, we all kind of do this, we kind of monitor a little bit, we pick and choose what's important. Every one of us are co-equal, you know, I mean, the bosses that we have, we don't have a boss, our boss is the public, our boss is the electorate who elects us. So, you know, I think you're right, Mr. Chairman, I think we can do a better job at facilitating communication. But I think that works on all parties, and I think one of the easy ways that we can do that is just, we meet at least every other week, if not sooner. And Mr. Chairman, I think it's real easy for you to just make it a point of the meeting, hey, what's going on? You got anything coming up?
And I can do that. And we will do this like in directors' meetings. We will take time.
Sure.
Or if any commissioner has questions about any other commissioner or anything else, or if you've been, you know something that's coming at you, that we don't have to broadcast it to everybody, but if we know, that gives me comfort that you're not hiding anything. It's when I don't know, and then I hear about this later on, and I'm thinking, we're not even important. I'm a commissioner, and not even important enough to have somebody tell me that they're thinking about doing this, or what was said, or what was the intent, anything. And if it's none of my business, then you can tell me straight up that it's none of my business. However, I would just like a little more cooperation, transparency, and being on the up and up with what we do. So I don't want to exhaust this forever, but.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a suggestion. We do have pre-meetings on Tuesday mornings, and usually a director's meeting, if we have something to discuss, we could discuss it on the Monday before we start talking to our directors. But we definitely need to be more open, and I would suggest if you go out of town, that our first directors meeting or commissioners meeting, that you present a description of what you were, why you were at that meeting, and how, if it was important to our community. Because if we're taking tax dollars to go on those trips, then I'm not saying anybody's hiding anything, but it would be very important for us as commissioners to know exactly why we were there and what we were representing for Campbell County. And as far as the meeting that when you were at City Council, Bob Jordan actually sat in the lobby because I was sitting there. I usually go to the City Council meetings merely to understand what the city is, what they're viewing, what they're involved in as far as our community, so that as a commissioner, I have an understanding as to what they're doing, what we're doing, and how we can work together. So it's, and then when Bob came in to speak at that meeting, I got up and walked out into the lobby. I don't know why we have to go through those kind of things when we're just sitting there, but those are the rules. But in our pre-meetings, if we are involved in other meetings, and we're the group of 5 here, if we have something of interest, let's talk about it. because we're supposedly a team. We may have different views, different ideas, but we have to work together for the benefit of our county, and because we are here for the betterment. That is why you elected us. So, thank you.
Okay, Bob Jordan.
Well, this is all interesting. I've been here 21 months. How many days? So, when I wander in someplace, it's just a look. I have no agenda and no reason to be. I'm a wanderer. You city council, John Patriot, the Girl Scouts, doesn't matter. I'm gonna wander in to listen. All right? One thing I've noticed in the last 21 months of being here is that I'll be in a meeting and I'll hear something and you're like, huh, how come we weren't informed? That didn't happen in passing in the hallway. Something actually went on. There's actually a conversation in a meeting somewhere, local people, that's going on. I was in a meeting the other day with the BLM and happened to be in passing, there might be some legislatures coming from other states to talk about coal. And he suggests, well, I think you got a couple of county commissioners coming. I don't know that. I was gonna wander in that meeting on coal. I think it's come up shortly. I don't wanna wander into that meeting and suddenly find I've got 2 county commissioners there. And I generally don't, because we're not all socially connected, I generally don't communicate with my other commissioners on where they're gonna be on a Wednesday night at whatever, 6 o'clock. A lot of things goes on in this county. If you got your business, personal business going on, and it's cross-over county business, anytime you need county of anything, we should inform it. Your private business should be kept to yourself, though. I worked for a corporation, if I went in there and told them, hey, I went to this, I would have to provide PowerPoints and explanation and expect at least a 5-minute to 10-minute report. Is that right, Mr. Clary? Yes. And there was no forgiveness of that type of ignoring what they were doing. If I go to breakfast with anybody that has anything to do with Campbell County business, I'll let Sandra know. I'll let Kelly know. Maybe it's another commissioner, I'll let them know. Only because they should know. And when somebody in public doesn't say, well, I just saw Bob with Jim, okay, and Kelly doesn't know what we're talking about. We might be talking about greenhouses, which unfortunately sometimes is what we actually talk about. Jim needs a greenhouse. But the reality is that we should communicate better, we should be open, and this whole thing with the nuclear stuff going on in the county and some businesses coming in, I've had exactly 2 PowerPoints, one with Radiant, one with VW, and I've had a meeting with Radiant, well actually BWXC, okay? That's my entire exposure to this entire situation. Everything else I found out through conversations with other people, or legislators, at the energy level, and through the state. Now, I shouldn't have to do all the digging stuff I find out going on in my county, having to dig in the outside world. Now, I'm a digger, I like to dig. So there's a lot of stuff going in this county that county commissioners are not being informed of, inadvertently or on purpose, what doesn't matter why, okay? And these things are going on. If we gotta make decisions for our county, we really have to be informed. I've already seen 4 traps, this commission's been trapped in the last 21 months. On things that had to be made decisions right now, just like that. I don't like being put in that position uninformed. And it goes on in this county all the time. And so then I think people need to sound, and I've also learned one thing, if you're not gonna be in positive in what the position's being laid, you will not be invited. I'll guarantee you right now that happens, okay? You will not be invited because you're not allowed to be around the table because positive decisions gotta be made without input. That's wrong, all right? So I'm gonna try and be as open as I can. I mean, we all get busy. There's days I go from one schedule to another and I haven't got time to contact Sandra or anybody else. I don't have the time. And we just gotta be maybe make more effort at it, realize we're working towards something here as a group. Cause I mean, take an example, I wouldn't want a company to come to town and say, oh, by the way, we're gonna make a decision today, it's gotta be done, you gotta sell them some land. I don't wanna be in that position. I don't even know what the conditions are for some of this stuff. And I'm not gonna be forced into it again, okay? I don't like being put in that position. So, I'm just here to watch, pay attention, and listen to what people have to say and do the best decision I can. But I definitely don't like games being played. So, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, Jim.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you've asked for some personal comments and in a public setting, so I'll give those to you. I do take exception, with Commissioner Jordan's comments just now, that there are decisions being made, you know, and in the chairman's words, secret meetings. That is just wrong. It's not true. It's absolute garbage. The chairman's own words, you said, sometimes you're not invited to the party. It's an interesting way to say it. But I think we need to just be open and honest about, hey, what is a meeting and when does it matter? When does the attendance or action or opinion of a commissioner matter in its official sense? And when it really matters is when we're sitting here as a board and we make a decision as a board, a majority of our board, and we decide something that's within our purview, it's in a public meeting, it's on the agenda, and we take a formal action that means something. I could, or any commissioner on this board, could have their own personal interests, their own personal expertise, have conversations, even attend meetings. And that's okay. That's within our purview. That's the authority that we're granted as elected officials. But when those opinions really matter is when we take action as a board. So I just don't want people thinking that there's some meaningful result within our authority that happens because we have a conversation with someone at the grocery store or the gas pump, or at Perkins in the morning, or we get invited to a meeting at City Hall or somewhere else. It's our job to interact with people, to engage with our constituents, including businesses, and understand who and what they're about. And when or if it comes time for this board to have an official position, we all have an opportunity to communicate about that. Mr. Chairman, in one respect, I'm confused, even baffled, I guess, that this is the second time that you've brought this conversation up in a public setting, once at City Hall, once here. So that's 2 times. When in the preceding months, in the City Hall meeting, you said you had been very frustrated or concerned for months that there were secret meetings going on, okay? And if you were very concerned about that, you could have very easily come to me. 2 meetings in public now, 0 emails, 0 texts, 0 phone calls, 0 interpersonal communications. When we sit in this same room together, 12, 15, 18 hours together every other week, when you could come right to me and ask me those questions. So I think the obligation for communication, the obligation for leadership is one that shouldn't be ignored either. We do this job all day, all night, every day. I don't know about any of the rest of you, but it doesn't seem to shut off at dinner time or on Sundays or anytime else. So we need to know what your expectation is as our chairman for that communication. Is it every meeting at the gas pump? Is it every text? If that's your expectation, you've got to communicate that. So within a few hours of your trip to City Hall, I picked up the phone call, and the next 2 mornings afterwards, we went and had a 2.5-hour breakfast at my invitation. And we talked about all these things, and I'm glad that we did. And that's available to any of us all the time, and it's probably a much better way to work together than it is like this. So that's my thoughts.
Thanks, Jay.
Okay. I wanted it cleared up so everybody knows what everybody's thinking, and I got my wish. So coming out of this, I think we can do better. I think we can communicate better. I know I'm not the best communicator in the world, and I'll try to get better. I think we're just about ready for public comments.